Hello, Lou Hamilton from Audible Elegance of Cincinnati, Ohio, doing a video from my home here in Virginia. And we do work on X and Instagram and on Facebook. I also write a monthly blog. I'm going to talk about open baffle speakers, which is something that has become more apparent over the last 3 or 4 years. And I have a friend who's owned Magnepans and Martin Logans, who recently got a set of them, and he's been playing around with them. And his observations are kind of interesting, and there's some really fine articles out there on the web about them. And what triggered this was my video on the 3 different types of speakers, the full plane, half plane, quarter plane. And it started out innocently enough with, what do I consider open baffle speakers? And a quick thought of it was, they're more of a full plane design, is that they radiate sound both forward and aft, backwards, because of the nature of the drivers themselves. But when I was asked what I thought about it, I said the jury is still out, to which he took real exception to it, which caused me to dig even further into the design strategies and some of the articles. And, you know, the first thing you have to understand about open baffle designs, and we're talking about single drivers. They might be 15-inch, or they could be multiple drivers, but some of them are going to be open to the backside, unlike a lot of tweeter systems, which are not. They're sealed to the back. And the first thing that becomes very apparent is that its distance, like a Magnepan or a Martin Logan, from the back wall, and what the back wall is made of, becomes a factor in the play. The less rigid the surface behind it, the more you're more likely to pick up resonances of the back wall added to what the speaker is doing. And that affects, you know, almost any speaker anyway, but it's something that's radiating hard into it, well, that's a bit more. The other thing that came to mind was that in the development of speakers themselves, the drivers, there's a characteristic that's measured, which is known as a free air resonance. At which point, you know, at what frequency does the driver itself begin to resonate or create aberrations to the sound, contribute its own colors, shall we call it? And I'm a little concerned about some of these open baffle designs as to whether people are really getting drivers that were designed to be open baffle, or whether they just grabbed something off the shelf and slapped it onto a board and said, here it is. I've seen a number of the designs where I certainly question what's going on with the edges of the baffles themselves. Jim Teal, in the design of his speakers, became very conscious of this and actually curved the front of the speakers to reduce the sort of ringing effect you get off of it. You can just simply take a pan of water and put a sharp object in it and start dipping your finger, and you'll see these little secondary ringlets come off the corners, the edges of that object. And that's contributing something that's not necessarily in timer phase or even desired, for sure. So questions about that, and that affects a lot of box speakers too, so don't get me wrong. When you're dealing with speakers like the Magnepan, you're dealing with a flat radiator. Martin Logan has a 15-degree curvilinear front in some cases when you're talking about the stat panels. But when I look at what these conventional drivers being used in open baffle, we have a cone-shaped surface, and I'm not exactly sure what that means to dispersion, whether it's even or not. As I said, the jury is still out on it. The comments I have heard from some people is that while they are capable of providing a sound field like a Magnepan or a Martin Logan, in other words, because you have the back radiation that's going on, or I guess we should include the Bose speakers in it with the direct reflecting, because they're also working off of that. While he gets the sound field that he appreciates out of the other designs, he does not get the articulation. Now, in his case, he's using a single 15-inch driver, which, you know, historically is not an ideal surface to generate, you know, upper frequencies from. And he's using very good electronics into it. Unfortunately, he's in a small room, so he doesn't have a whole lot of playroom for distance and such, either in listening or for the placement of the speakers. But I wanted to, you know, alert people that, you know, okay, there's these open baffle designs, and encourage you to go out there on the web, and there's some fine articles on Audioholics talking about it, and just simply look at those things and give them their due consideration. At this point, I have had no personal experience with them. I'm just thinking about conceptually what's going on. Heck, I've seen some of these designs which have absolutely no rigidity to them in terms of the speaker surface itself. So, you know, you put a driver in motion, well, you have, you know, basic physics going on, and it's going to cause that motor board to vibrate. And if that motor board is vibrating, its speed is going to be added or subtracted from driver speed, and that's going to raise all sorts of havoc as well. I have seen some of these things that are $6,000 and $7,000, and I kind of go, okay, not sure, but okay. So, you know, if you happen to encounter them, you know, give them a listen. That's what you're supposed to do. I would be very hesitant about mail ordering something like that you haven't heard, nor even heard the concept, and hopefully it's executed very well. But, you know, over 38 years, I've seen a lot of faddish type things come and go. And some of them have stayed, but others, you know, they have the 3 to 5 year run, and then they wind up all over the used market, and enough said with that. And secondary people get to play with them and come to their own conclusions. So there we are in the open baffle. I'm looking forward to, you know, actually sitting down and listening to a pair or several different pairs at some point in time. But right now, that's not an opportunity I have. So I just wanted to clarify that for me and Audible Elegance, the jury is out on this concept of open baffle. It's not anything that our manufacturers provide us with. So, you know, I'm not going to add to or the sort of mystique to these things. I just acknowledge that they're out there, and at some point I'll give them a listen. So there we are from Audible Elegance. Thank you.